Here.
Here. Here. Here.
The purpose of said public hearing is to hear testimony and discuss the following. File of the Council number 27, 2018, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate officials of the City of Scranton to take all necessary actions to implement the consolidated submission for community planning and development programs to be funded under the Community Development Block Grant Program, Home Investment Partnership Program, and Emergency Solutions Grants Program for the period beginning January 1, 2019.
With us this evening is the Director of OECD, Linda Abley, and the Solicitor, Sean Gallagher. I would like to thank both of you guys for coming in tonight, and if you'd like to start off, Ms. Abley.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to update everyone on our 2018 action plan. We just received our funding, and I'm happy to report that we received $245,835,000 more of CDBG funding that we didn't expect. Our home, we received an additional $162,090, and I was very surprised at that because over the years it's been going down, and the emergency solution grant was reduced by $1,654. Currently, my staff is putting together the contracts to start spending the money. Okay? So moving on to 2019, of course, these are approximate amounts. Has everybody reviewed all the activities I submitted? And do you have any questions for me? I think I explained why we funded some things and why we didn't fund some things.
I just have one question.
Okay.
The sidewalk and streetscape improvements that you're funding for $300,000, have you identified where those areas are where you're going to make those improvements?
We don't know yet,
Okay.
but they have to be in low to moderate income areas.
Now, Linda, how does that work, though? Is that something that...
We just started funding that last year. We
Yeah,
felt
we
like
needed
some of the
sidewalks.
neighborhoods needed sidewalks. So we're sort of driving around looking where to begin. So right now, we don't have any specific site in mind.
Okay. So now, is that something we would encourage homeowners to contact your office about, or is that something you're
No,
looking
we'd like to do it by blocks.
All right, so you're looking for specific blocks?
We're
that
going to
might need a whole-
decide where they go.
All right, okay. We always get that request, by the way. I'm not sure if that's
Now,
even
when we
doable,
do
but-
housing rehab,
Yeah,
under the home program, that's an eligible activity that we do sidewalks when we rehab a house.
all right, well,
So that's
okay.
good to know.
All right, that's good to know.
With the demolition and disposal of blighted and abandoned properties throughout the city of Scranton, they put in for $600,000 and you're funding them for $75,000. I don't know if you have this information on hand, but in the last 4 or 5 years, do you know roughly how many houses have been demolished?
No, but I have the list in the office I could send everyone.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah,
And-
I have it back 15 years.
And how does that process work when it's funded through OECD?
That all comes from licensing and permits.
Okay.
Licensing and permits, when a home is ready to be demolished, they send us a list. Then we do OECD does a title search. Then we contact every person that has interest in the property. Then we hired an environmental asbestos to go in and check out the asbestos in each home so we could tell the contractors where the asbestos is in the home. And that we get our addresses from licensing and permits.
Now, is that, the reduction is based on, is there unused funds maybe in that account now, or?
Yes, there is.
Okay, that's what I thought, so
Yeah.
there's money that hasn't been
I'm currently
spent.
doing title searches on 4 properties.
All right,
It started out to 10, but then when we contact the property owners legally, we can't touch for one reason or another. We can't touch the property.
there's not a restriction on as far as location is concerned with that,
No.
is there? Okay.
Nope.
So it doesn't matter if it's not in low to
No.
mod, all right.
No,
And do you know how much funding is left in that pot for demolition?
no, but I could find out.
Okay. The other one I want to ask about is the Weston Field outside pool area improvements. So they put in for 161 and then it's down to 50. And I know that we got some kind of correspondence about moving money. Can you just explain that?
Correct. When I met with the solicitor, Jessica, she said they have money in the Weston Field Foundation, so that's why we reduced it.
Okay. Oh, so they have the balance then of...
Yeah, that's eligible to be used.
Do we have any other questions for Ms. Abley?
I'd like to add one thing. I'm happy to report that our Scranton Hilton Section 108 is being paid off probably this month or next month from the 2018 funding. So we don't have to, we'll have like approximately $250,000 more every year to allocate to activities.
Well, that's certainly good news to get that off the books.
One more question. The home buyer program, can you just give us an update on the success of that program? Like, the city's putting in for $100,000. Do you go through that money in 1 year?
Yes. For some reason, we were dwindling like maybe 5 homes a year, and all of a sudden it's taking off, maybe because of the housing is, you know, the price of the house. But the home has to be up to code when it is purchased.
So you've used up some of your reserves on that then?
Yeah.
Because I know last year you had some reserves, that's why you didn't put in for as
Correct.
much money?
Yep.
All right. And the housing rehab, if that's what you were talking about before, that's funded at $75,000?
I'm sorry, what?
The housing rehab is funded at $75,000. That's what you mentioned, that sidewalks are ineligible
Correct.
expense for that. How do homeowners qualify for that? Is that income-based or? is it-
Income.
Okay.
And their taxes have to be paid up, their utilities, and their garbage.
And is that a outright grant or is it?
It's a deferred payment. Basically, usually it's a 10 to 15-year lien, and it depreciates, say, 10% every year.
Okay.
So
And
it's a
eventually-
grant after 10 years.
Then it just goes away after
Correct.
that.
If they sell the house within that period, they'd pay us
You
back
paid off.
proration.
Okay.
There's no names on the sign-in sheet, but I want to give time for public participation. Is there anybody who would like to address council on this matter? No speakers? Councilman, do we have any other questions? If there's no further questions, Ms. Abley, do we have anything else to add before we conclude?
Yeah. Now, hold on for 1 second.
Yeah, take your time. We're in no rush. Take your time.
Oh, the reason I did not fund the rental rehab program, we funded it in 18, 17, and I believe 16. And to date, I cannot find one property owner to use the rehab money. I have it up in licensing and permits. I have it online, the rental, rental rehab application. So what I plan on doing is contacting all the inspectors in LIPS, because they're the ones that go out on the street. They're the ones that deal with the people face to face. So that's why I did not fund it this year until it goes off. Yeah.
Do you know what the reason is? Are they getting?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm just curious what the feedback would be.
There's rent controls, and they have to rent to, the tenants have to be 60% of the medium income, which isn't really that low.
On a rental rehab, is it the same situation where it's a grant, or is it a matching grant or just a?
It's a matching grant.
Right.
We'll match up to four units.
You're right.
We'll match $10,000 per unit.
Per unit.
If they have to do lead-based paint testing, and we provide another $2,500 that they would not have to match.
So if they do lead-based paint testing, and it comes back there's lead there, do they have to hire professionals to abate the lead then?
Yes.
And does that
Yeah,
come out of
that's
the?
yeah.
Does that come out of the grant money then? Or
That would come out of the $2,500.
all right, out of the $2,500. Okay. All right. Okay.
Anything else? If there's no speakers and councilmen have no further questions, then public hearing adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please remain standing for a moment of silent reflection for our servicemen and women throughout the world, and also those who passed away in our community. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Donahue?
Here.
Mr. Evans?
Here.
Mr. Gohan?
Here.
Mr. Perry?
Here. At this time, we have a proclamation from Mary Ann Kitlis. If Ms. Kitlis and her family would like to come forward, please, down in front. Yes. You're gonna be right there in the middle. Yeah. Do the honor for me. Whereas the Council of the City of Scranton is a serious honor of Miss Ann Kitlis for 50 years of service to the Scranton, City of Scranton. And whereas Miss Ann Kitlis is married to Ron Kitlis, who also worked for the City of Scranton and retired after 17 years of service. And they are parents to Rhonda Gillette and Katie Kitlis. Mary Ann and Ron, who have been married for over 47 years, are the doting grandparents of two granddaughters, Ella and Emily. And whereas Mary Ann started her career in the law department on September 9, 1968, as senior stenographer under the direction of former city solicitor Harvey Gelb during an administration of Mayor James J. Walsh, and remained there for 16 years. And whereas Mary Ann held the position of assistant city clerk for 20 years under the director of former city clerks Frank Naughton and P. James Wintermantle and J. Saunders, where she dedicated herself to the office and served with numerous city council persons. And whereas Mary Ann, a lifelong resident of Scranton, is currently the project administrator for the Department of Parks and Recreation. And now, therefore, be it resolved that on Monday, September 17th, 2018, Scranton City Council wishes to congratulate Mary Ann Kitlis for her unwavering dedication and commitment to the city of Scranton on every level for so many years, and for instilling her exemplary professionalism and work ethic in her children and grandchildren. Be it further resolved that this proclamation be made a permanent part of record in this council and lasting tribute to Mary Ann Kitlis.
Kathy Carrera, my husband and my daughter for coming, my boss down there. Thank you ever so much. I really appreciate this. It's an honor and a pleasure, and I enjoy my work, my job. I love meeting everybody. It's a different day every day, and I just hope the Lord is good to me and gives me a few more years.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm still so nervous.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Councilman Perry as temporary chairperson for the Committee on Rules.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. So moved.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Councilman Evans as temporary chairperson for the Committee on Public Safety.
Second.
On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Dispense with the reading of the minutes, please.
Third order, 3A, Tax Assessor's Report for hearing date to be held September 26, 2018.
Are there any comments? If not, received and filed.
3B, Tax Assessor's Results Reports 4 hearing dates held August 29 and September 5, 2018.
Are there any comments? If not, received and filed.
3C, minutes of the Scranton Municipal Recreation Authority meeting held August 6, 2018.
Are there any comments? If not, received and filed.
3D, minutes of the rescheduled meeting of the Lackawanna County Land Bank held August 15, 2018.
Are there any comments? If not, received and filed.
3E, agenda for the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting held September 12, 2018.
Are there any comments? If not, received and filed. Do any council members have any announcements at this time?
Yes, I have one. Sunday, September 23rd, 11 a.m. on Courthouse Square in downtown Scranton will be the United States of America Vietnam War commemoration. Each living veteran who served at any time on active duty in the United States Armed Forces, regardless of location, during the period of November 1st, 1955 to May 15th, 1975, is eligible to receive one Vietnam lapel pin on behalf of a grateful nation. Again, that's Sunday, September 23rd, 11 a.m., Courthouse Square, downtown Scranton. Thank you.
Thank you. Fourth order, citizens' participation. The first name on the sign-in sheet is Norma Jeffries.
Much quicker than I thought. Norma Jeffries, Scranton resident. And I just want to go through, as I was reading this again, I thought about when I was working at year-end, you gave a year-end review about what you did during the year. So I guess this is a year-end review of City Council. I have been attending council meetings for the past year or so. Over that time, I have heard great ideas, concerns, and issues from those in attendance. To the regulars that attend, I am always amazed at the amount of time and effort and follow-up that is put into the research issues to present to council. Some have been resolved, some have not. But we do have some success stories. One of the success stories is street signs, issues that we had in the Hill section. Thank you, Councilman Perry and Councilman Gahn. I thank the council members, others that may have worked on getting those signs put up. And I am sure Councilman Perry will be giving us an update as the city moves forward with putting up additional signs. I know that there is a project going on, and I don't know what the status is, but I'm sure we'll be given a status shortly. Also, the caution children's sign around the Boys Club and Girls Club on Ash Street. That's a success story. Another success story, after regular attendees needed new recyclables, he needed recycle cans. They were delivered, another success story. To the Youngs in Greenridge, I feel your pain and concern. And my prayer is that the situation will be addressed to your satisfaction soon. Seeing pictures of the water in the backyard was heartbreaking. I know that it has been years that you have been dealing with this issue, and I just pray that something is going to be done soon. To the gentleman in West Side with other water concerns, I am confident that your concerns will also be addressed. You have come before council and presented your case. I thank all of you council members for listening and giving an ear to our concerns. These are just a few of the concerns that I have made notes on. And I know there are many, many more. For the few concerns that are presented each week, I am sure, and I know there are others. I want to thank Electric City Television for recording the meetings and posting them on YouTube. Since I was not able to attend the meetings in July, due to the time change of the sessions, it was great keeping up with the sessions and the meetings. All that said, I would like to address the young people and the youth of Scranton. To Glennis Johns, who through her diligence has developed a great website, Black Scranton. Glennis was educated here in Scranton, but returned to make a difference. Thank you, Glennis. To Madeline Cianci, 16 years old, who wants to make a difference. Come back, Madeline. We need to support you and to hear how your project is advancing. I, for one, never paid too much attention to the cigarette advertisements in the convenience stores. So for me, you have made a difference. I now notice them. I wish the best with this wonderful project. To William Wegg, if I pronounce his name right, a college student who was also educated here in Scranton, but is attending college out of the area. As I listened again to your presentation, William, to City Council in June, you had so much to offer, but I do not hear our young people, but I do hear our young people say there are no jobs here, or the pay is not good enough to live and to pay off college debt. Give us a chance, come back, present more ideas to us. There was another young lady from Scranton Prep who presented her concerns about the safety in the schools. I was not able to find the YouTube video to get her name, but as this school year has started, I pray that our youth can go to school without fear. I pray that they will have a great school year and that they will have success as they go forward. Again, I congratulate this young lady from Scranton Prep, and again, praying that all the students have an uneventful, successful school year. Each of these young people deserve our support. Each of these young people will be our up-and-coming leaders. As we discuss See, Click, Fix, the kiosks that can make a connection between our smartphones and the happenings in Scranton, the way the parking meters will be used in the future. We need your input, young people. We need to hear from you. Come with your ideas and let us hear your thoughts. They may not be acted on right away, but you have laid the seed. Thank you. Oh, if I could just add one more thing about this article was in the paper August the 26th, and it says, young, want change, now can vote. And the thing that caught my eye, in Pennsylvania residents, Pennsylvania residents who are younger than 30 now make up 2/3 of the new voter registration. So there's a lot of young people out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jeffries. The next speaker on the sign-in sheet is Joan Hodewanitz.
Joan Hodewanitz, Scranton resident and taxpayer. I sat in on the caucus, but could you, for the general audience, review the status of the audit?
Well, we expect it again now sometime in the first week of October. As you know, it was there's a little bit of a glitch based on it being an audit for an odd year and extra information and extra reports that have to be written because of that. So here we are.
I'm pleased that Mr. Bolzoni attended and was able to explain why, it had been late for this year, and the fact that he's working hard to try to get that changed so that it'll be ready not later than July every year. Which brings to mind something else, and that's the Home Rule Charter. That's a document which says it's due on May 31st. But do you realize that the Sewer Authority, which still has a board and still has financial statements, works on a fiscal year that ends not in December, but at the end of March? So they didn't even begin preparing their financial statements for submission to the city until April 1st. There are a lot of disconnects like that. I don't know when the Home Rule Charter was written and approved, but I would guess it's been many years, and maybe it's time to take a look at that document. I saw the discussions in the paper about the need for looking at an ethics code for the city. It may be time for the administration and you as public officials just to take a look at that document and see whether it's still relevant. Anybody know when it was approved?
76 comes to mind, but I'm not quite sure if that's true. But I served on the past Home Rule Charter Study Commission, and it was a very interesting.
It's 40 plus years.
Oh, two? Really?
Also, Mr. Bolzoni discussed the Arcata stormwater study and its status. So you're planning to have a work session on October 1st at 4:30
That's correct.
here and open to the public?
In the governor's room, but open to the public.
Governor's room and open to the public. That will certainly be on my calendar. You know, in many ways, Scranton dodged a bullet that we didn't get anything near the rain totals that the Carolinas got with Hurricane Florence. Had we gotten that, we'd see a lot more people coming in here asking for relief. I just hope that there's enough information available to affect the 2019 budget planning process. Because, you know, we don't want to wait till 2020. And remember that the hurricane season is not over yet. We could still get nailed with heavy rainstorms. Norma, you should have been in the caucus. Mr. Bolzoni gave an update on the traffic management sign project. And yeah, they're working on it. They're working on it. And I'm glad he did that, because that is not just a nice to have thing. That is a safety issue for the general public. And it's about time we got it addressed. And last but not least, for those of you looking for something fun to do on a Friday night, the Lackawanna Historical Society is having its Scranton After Dark Haunted Walking Tour, starting this Friday, September 21st, and running through October 26th. Starts at 6:30 p.m. from the Catlin House. It's $15 per person. You can register by calling 570-344-3841, and it's $15 well spent. You will enjoy yourself. Go down to the Radisson and see the ghosts down there. Did you know that they used that as a mortuary during the 1918 Spanish flu, when they didn't have enough places to park the bodies? Yeah, a lot of stuff about Scranton you didn't know. The county courthouse is haunted. Andy Gavin's pub is haunted. The jail is haunted. A lot of places to go. So that's going to be fun. So if you can and you want something really fun to do this fall, call the Lackawanna Historical Society. Thank you.
Thanks, Joan. Next speaker on the list is Ron Elman.
You guys think I'll ever get some kind of award? I don't, like SOB award or something for coming here. Yeah. I thought you'd vote for that.
You always have my vote, Ron.
Yeah, anything, I'd be happy with it. You know, you probably won't even believe me, but many, many years ago, Louis told me, Mr. DeNaples, I was one of his favorite employees. He said something like, Elman, I have 250 employees, and your name comes up more than anybody else's. So that's because he loved me, see. I never even heard of the premier soccer boys that Mr. Bozzoni was wanting this ridiculous nonsense of taking the baseball park and moving it somewhere else and letting them have the baseball field and waste all that money. It doesn't make sense. Why can't they just use the park and leave things alone? Nobody ever wants to save the taxpayers a penny. Now, what penny is this? There's always some kind of graft or corruption to eat it up. Brother Wayne, if you're still talking to me.
Certainly.
On Kaiser Avenue and Oak Street, where Ollie's is, you know where the car wash is?
Yes.
behind Ollie's is 15 or 20 acres of land. Is that the city's by some chance? You know where I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, it's not.
It's like a
Yeah.
miniature Nayog.
Yeah, some of it might be, but most of it's owned by the people that own that shopping center that where Ollie's is. They own quite a bit of that land behind there.
Boy, if the city could acquire that, it's got a big clearing. You ever been in it?
Yeah, it's very nice.
You know, it's got a big clearing. It's got room.
Yep.
That'd make a nice soccer field. I played soccer when I was in 8th grade. It's not that large an area. I just, like I said, occasionally I walk my dog in there. It's very nice and shady. And last week in the paper, there was a flowery article about how fortunate the city is to have Charles Jefferson building downtown. The article omitted that the $107,000 in taxes that he refuses to pay for 4 or 5 years. It admitted the fact that he got $2,600,000 of grant money from the state to work on these buildings. How does that help the people of the city? One iota. Tell me, what am I getting out of it? 565 people lost their homes in foreclosure. Why couldn't something be done with money like that to help them? A week or two ago, there was somebody owed $350 in the paper under the taxes. You know, I just don't understand why nobody wants to worry about collecting taxes. This home on the 1500 block of Sanderson, it is packed full of people. There's 3, 4 in a room there. It was in the paper, they owed, I think, $107,000 or something in back taxes. They probably get that $100,000 a month. Rose's stepbrother's there. He makes Social Security $1,200 a month that they keep, and $200 a month in food stamps they keep, and they give him $80, I believe. The place is full of people and they don't want to pay their taxes. Jefferson doesn't want to pay his taxes. People are losing their homes because of a bunch of deadbeats. And here, Mr. Wolf, he's telling the people that there is no money for his budget, but he found $2,600,000 for his friend and supporter. There's something wrong, I don't know. That's one, he sure don't have to worry about me voting for him. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hellman. Next speaker is Marie Schumacher.
Marie Schumacher. I would like to start tonight by thanking DPW because, as I have mentioned several times before, the portion of East Mountain Road from East Mountain Road to 307 was missing on the street sweeping schedule. But they did come this past week, which was very welcome. They did a fine job. And I know, even though I went out and bought 8 bags of sand today, just in case we get a lot of rain tonight, it's still, the water was flowing when I left. It wasn't running over the curbs because they were finely cleaned. That's something we need to do on a regular basis. Do you have a list, Mr. Gahn, of all the equipment that DPW has related to stormwater?
I don't have a list, but I can certainly request one.
I think it would be good. For instance, now, do you know if Lenny's request to get that retention pond cleaned out so that it could hold more water was ever fulfilled?
I do not. We put the request in, I think, twice, and we never received a response.
Do you I don't know the name of the equipment, but that claw thing that I remember being a kid sitting on the curb watching them clean those out every summer. I don't know what it's called, but do we even have one?
That I'm not sure, but I can check.
I would like to see that list very much. I think you all should want to look at that as well. How about the meeting on Jean's plan with the mayor and Lenny? I think, has that occurred?
It's my understanding, I never received a response to the letter, but it's my understanding that there was some sort of meeting held. I don't know if it was to that issue specifically or just for residents in the Kaiser Valley area. I haven't gotten confirmation on that. But I do know that we did receive an email back that Mr. Pocious was looking again into the information that Mr. Besko had provided.
Okay. And speaking of our city engineer, when's the last time he was out to look at Ryerson Road and the safety and stability of that road?
That I'm not sure. I can check on that.
Did any of you go out and, other than Mr. Gahan, who's been out there before, look at the damage in the 1700 block of Wyoming, which is probably growing tonight and, well, all through tomorrow?
I've been out there before, but I'll get out there this week.
Yeah, you have?
I have pictures on my phone. I haven't been there in the last week, but I have pictures on my phone.
So you've seen the erosion under those garages?
And you can see that the wall is moving
Yeah.
in that one section behind the
And, I mean, just for the protection, as a taxpayer, I mean, I don't know why those people aren't here tonight, to be honest with you, that live on Ryerson and live on Wyoming. But that's a public safety issue, and if that collapses, I don't know, I assume the city is liable, and repairing will probably be very expensive as well, so it's our good faith to get that looked at. And also, do you know who, I know the pollution retention plan is due next May. Who is working, what team has been assigned that preparation of that plan?
I believe that would be Don King, the city planner.
Okay, oh, and speaking of Don King and planning, how is the new master plan? I think we're delinquent in our master plan for the city.
We just got I have it here someplace in one of these folders. We just got an update from the SAPA representative, so if I can dig that out by the time I get to fifth order.
Are you talking about the SAPA plan, or you're talking about the
zoning?
Well, no, I was talking about I initially asked about the retention thing, but then when he mentioned Don King, I thought, well, okay, he's the rep on SAPA, so what's the status of our master plan? Because there's a lot other stuff riding on that in addition to our delinquency.
The RFP has been let, and I don't think they've hired the consultant yet, but the RFP is out there for the zoning part of it. Yes.
Has it been back? No,
I don't know if they've designated somebody. I'll check with George Kelly, and we'll find out where that is. He's the one that's put the RFP out.
Why is the county doing that?
Well, because
Just
that's where the
out of
grant's coming
curiosity.
from. Yeah, there's a grant that we received through the county through SAPA for the zoning code for all of the communities that are involved in SAPA, and then we pay our portion of it, and we basically will probably hire the same consultant, but it'll be a much lesser rate. But I still expect that to start in the first quarter of next year, because the RFP should be out, completed, and the consultant should be designated before the end of the year.
Okay, and
Sorry.
right, hold it for next week.
Okay.
They received 4 proposals from planning firms in response to the RFP, and the deadline was 4 p.m. Friday, September 7th.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. There's no other names on the sheet. Is there anybody else who'd like to address council?
Good evening, council. Dave Dobson, resident, taxpayer. Last week, Dave Franis was in and mentioned, I think it was 3rd Avenue, and they should actually put a stop to that and get in touch with the Bureau of Mines and see what they could do about reinforcing that road. Because from what I hear, for years it's been undermined, and you have 50-ton triaxles going over it, so take it from there. We have an ordinance on fireworks. The only thing I can say this year was it was mainly limited to one night only. In previous years, it was constantly going off, going off. I'd have to drag my dog in at 90 degrees and have him inside, and he preferred to be outside, and he's barking his head off, and so I don't know how to handle it with the 1 day of total disorder, but do what you can, I guess. Last week I had a question for everybody, and I don't have any big grievances with everybody up there, or anybody, but are you putting up with angry residents for another's political success? On Washington, once again I'll remind you, Putin, new nuclear weapons to enter duty, they fly not through outer space, they fly through subspace, and they fly at many, many times the speed of sound. They create a meteor-type trail, and they are impervious to anti-ballistic missiles. So, and once again, we're appointing one Supreme Court justice that seems to want to stick his religion into my life. I left the church 46 years ago. My mother was a Protestant divorcee, a World War II bride. The marriage failed, and I got to listen to 6 years and 1 month of my mother being slandered and my father being slandered and pounded on by altar boys and whatever, and I just decided no more. So I got myself kicked out, and nothing violent, just ideological, and I left the church forever at that time in my mind till I was 18 and old enough to tell my father that there was no more church in my life, period. And with the scandals going on over the recent months, follow my example. I met people down at the Italian Fest, and they were very distraught, and older people, and just don't worry about it. If God exists, he's up there. Okay, the chamber, tax proposal, tax others. Now, they want to lower the corporate tax, but they don't want to do anything about the Delaware loophole, which allows hundreds of corporations probably to avoid taxes in Pennsylvania, even though most of their business is here. And they want to further apply tax to sales tax to goods and services, health care, really. It's not expensive enough already. And furthermore, the government insurance is paying 10 cents on a dollar, like Medicare and Medicaid. So that'll probably put our hospitals in even more tentative. And personal income tax to retirement income. Now it's time that they decide whether the Chamber of Corporate Fair or the Chamber of Commerce. I mean, this is ridiculous. I was really frustrated with Obama back in 2012 because Romney backed him into a corner during a debate. And yes, the National U.S. Chamber of Commerce gives seminars on how to avoid taxes when you move out of the country and outsource. I mean, really? You're a Chamber of Commerce in the United States and you're up to that? It's a shame. It's like, really, what do I have to do? Sign over my entire retirement savings just to keep you people happy? No thanks, Chamber of Commerce. Thank you, Chamber of Corporate Fair, I meant.
Thank you, Mr. Dobson. Are there any other speakers?
Fifth order, 5A motions.
No, I have nothing at this time.
Thank you. First of all, as we discussed last week and earlier tonight, Arcadis, the company that is doing our stormwater study, has accepted our invitation to appear at a work session. They will be sending representatives to a session to be held at 4:30 p.m. October 1st in the governor's room. We expect the work session, of course, will be an informative discussion on not only where they are with the study currently, but also the process so far in developing the study. So I would remind everyone that the public and the press, as always, is invited to attend. Brief follow-up comment on the coffee shop lease. While my position is clear as far as city employees leasing city property for a business, it simply is not the right thing to do in my opinion. I do want to say something about the idea in general. I continue to be in favor of a coffee shop going in that building. Privatization in many of these instances is actually the right thing to do. And Mr. Hinton should be, at some level, applauded for bringing this idea forth. Thinking outside the box is something that has been in short supply within the confines of this building for many, many years. And when someone like Mr. Hinton shows, and actually shows an entrepreneurial spirit, something that I've chided this government to embrace since I've been on city council, then maybe we should recognize that. Also, during the council meeting of July 30th of this year, I requested the administration to create a local buying policy for purchasing and procurements. And after discussing this with B.A. Bolzoni, I'm comfortable that this is actually in place and working as intended. Also at that time, I suggested that we need to continue to look at existing policies with an eye towards enhancing and expanding our local small business community. Again, why is this important? Well, locally owned businesses will always play a central role in a healthy city. They have been and continue to be engines of opportunity by creating jobs and providing pathways to the middle class for many of our residents. So my next suggestion for a policy shift to help the local and small business community and owners is to create a policy or policies that decrease the amount of red tape for small businesses, as well as to somehow engage the small business owner the way they should be. This is, of course, another offshoot from our idea session. It's the last one that was held. In most cities, and Scranton certainly will fit this category, small business owners face complex city regulations, licensing and permit processes, and more. The small business owner is left to navigate a government bureaucracy that is certainly not user-friendly with no one to help. I would suggest that the city, using existing manpower, create a role within the government that might be called a small business navigator, someone that can help the local and small business owner, the new entrepreneur, the small developer, and others to navigate the city's rules and regulations related specifically to growing small business ownership and encouraging incremental development. This would save the small business owner and the developer time, expense, and energy that would be better devoted to growing their business. But the companion policy to this is the reduction in red tape. I challenge the administration to begin this process by fully reviewing the processes and lack of processes in those departments that affect our small business community the most, and streamline those policies, rules, and regulations at every opportunity. So in the coming weeks and months, I'll revisit this request while continuing to offer other ideas for policy changes for the city to review. But to me, it's pretty simple. We are either business friendly or we are not. Currently, the answer is emphatically, we are not. We can change that, but first, let's see if anyone answers the call. And that's all I have for tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Mr. Gahan, any motions or comments?
Yes, thank you. First, I just want to congratulate Mary Ann Kittless, who we gave a proclamation to tonight, for 50 years of service working for the city of Scranton. It's unbelievable, I think, for anyone to work that amount of time anywhere. So I just want to, again, congratulate her on 50 years and thank her for her dedication to the city. I attended, along with Councilman Donahue, a neighborhood meeting in West Scranton last week, and I do have several issues that I'm going to forward over to Mrs. Reed. One of the things that came out of that meeting, and we talked about this in the caucus with Mr. Bolzoni, was that the city definitely needs a more strategic plan to combat blight and other problems throughout the city. As I sat there and listened to residents in West Scranton and the issues that they had, there needs to be better communication between the city and all neighborhood groups throughout Scranton and all residents throughout Scranton. We need to have a clear and solid plan. And I think one of the things that we can do is use technology to make our government more efficient. Mrs. Jeffries mentioned reaching out to the young people in the community. I am attending a meeting this Friday with the University of Scranton Government Affairs Group with their students to listen to what they have to say, and then hopefully to build off of that, we will be having idea session with not only the University of Scranton students, but hopefully all young people throughout the city to listen to their ideas and what they think, what issues they think are important. We did send letters last week for a caucus on the recent flooding and several questions about the emergency management situation in the city. We did not hear anything back on that yet. And that's all I have this week. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gahan. I only have a few couple things to talk about. The one is an update from last week. We received from Mr. Pocius, there was a speaker who had a question about a sign and incorrect tonnage labeling a bridge over on Elm and Railroad, I believe. There was a discrepancy with the 9-ton sign. It didn't jive with the other one. The 9-ton sign is actually for Einen Street. So anybody familiar with that section, how it veers off and why is there? That 9-ton sign is for actually the Einen Street bridge. Or the Einen Street, yeah, going up Einen Street. Audit update, I know Mr. Evans gave a quick update on the audit, but yeah, as Mr. Balzoni explained it to us, on odd number years, there's a requirement for retirees to submit medical invoices. And so it was just the fact of collecting all those invoices, putting them all together, and then putting them on the sheet. As I understand it, and as Mr. Balzoni understands it, there's a draft ready to go. It just hasn't been presented to him yet. So he said he's going to keep us up to date on that, and hopefully we have what we need in the very near future. And finally, I'll talk a little bit about this. Street signs, since it was brought up a couple times. There is something on legislation. It's a very important step, but it's a beginning step of how we're going to tackle our street sign problem in the city. The company that we'll be voting on runs a software program. They're going to basically get in their car and map the city street by street, and not just our street signs, but also all our traffic signs, and look for anything that needs to be, defected, replaced, missing, because there's some streets that just don't have any. And then once we get that information in, then it'll be up to us to formulate an attack plan. So we're not at the attack plan yet. We're just right now, we think we found a company that is willing to do the work for us, and it'll be voted on here tonight. And funding for that is going to be coming from our liquid fuels. But that's what I have right now. Thank you.
5B, for introduction and ordinance, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to apply for and execute a grant application by the City of Scranton Police Department, and if successful, a grant agreement, and accept the funds related thereto through the BJA FY18 Edward Byrne Justice Assistance Grant Program local solicitation in the amount of $21,053.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion that item 5B be introduced into its proper committee.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. On the question?
Yes, on the question. I just want to say that this legislation is just another example of our police department going above and beyond to be what I consider one of the most transparent police departments in the state and possibly in the country. A couple months ago, we voted on funding so that the police department could get body cameras. This legislation, they're going for grant money so that when an officer has to unholster his or her weapon, they're going to have cameras actually on their weapons so that it records. Because according to the legislation, in some situations, the recording with the body cameras may be obscured when they go to draw a weapon. So I just want to commend Chief Graziano. In my 5 years on this council, they have really gone above and beyond to be transparent and to use technology to be extremely efficient. Thank you.
Yeah, I would concur with that. I'm continue to be impressed by Chief Graziano and his staff and how much they go after these grants, especially grants like this that increase transparency. And they're not afraid of it. They're not afraid of technology. They embrace it, and we're all better for it.
Yeah, I agreed. JAG funding, since I've been here, I've seen this come through many times, and it's funding that's out there, and I know the city of Scranton puts that to good use for things that we need that normally we wouldn't be able to have. You know, there wasn't that long ago that not every officer had a taser while on duty. And to me, that's just a dangerous situation to have for both the officer and the citizens, because it leaves very other limited things to do that's non-lethal when it comes into when push comes to such situation. So, you know, that was one of the first steps that we got, and ever since then, there's just been so many other tools that they've been putting in their toolbox to help serve the people, and this is just one of the latest. So again, it's fantastic. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, so moved.
Sixth order, 6A, reading by title, file of the council number 27, 2018, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and other appropriate officials of the city of Scranton to take all necessary actions to implement the consolidated submission for community planning and development programs to be funded under the Community Development Block Grant Program, Home Investment Partnership Program, and Emergency Solutions Grants Program for the period beginning January 1, 2019.
You've heard reading by title of item 6A. What is your pleasure?
I move that item 6A pass reading by title.
Second.
On the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, so moved.
I would like to make a motion to table item 6A to comply with the 30-day public comment period as required by HUD.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor and a second to table item 6A. On the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, and so moved.
6B, reading by title, file of the council number 28, 2018, an ordinance amending file of the council number 125, 2017, an ordinance entitled General City Operating Budget 2018 by transferring $50,000 from account number as noted, non-departmental expenditures, OPEB Trust Fund, to account number as noted, non-departmental expenditures, Shade Tree Commission, to provide funding for additional tree maintenance costs and the preparation of a basic plan on how to deploy additional trees in the downtown section of the city.
You've heard reading by title on item 6B. What is your pleasure?
I move that item 6B pass reading by title.
Second.
On the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, and so moved.
6C, reading by title, file of the council number 29, 2018, an ordinance acknowledging the adoption by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania of the Pennsylvania Fireworks Law, Act 43 of 2017, acknowledging that the fireworks law prohibits the igniting or discharge of consumer fireworks on public or private property without the express permission of the owner, providing that the city of Scranton does not grant permission for anyone to ignite or discharge consumer fireworks on the streets or sidewalks of the city of Scranton or property owned by the city of Scranton, including, without limitation, all of the city-owned parks and public buildings, directing that the city of Scranton provide certified copies of the ordinance to all magisterial district judges within the city, providing for repeal of inconsistent ordinances, providing for the severability of the ordinance, and providing that the ordinance shall take effect in accordance with Pennsylvania law.
You've heard reading by title of item 6C. What is your pleasure?
I move that item 6C pass reading by title.
Second.
On the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, and so moved.
6D, reading by title, filed with council number 30, 2018, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute a deed of easement and right-of-way between the city of Scranton and the Pennsylvania American Water Company, granting to the Pennsylvania American Water Company the easement, right-of-way, and rights as are set forth below, with respect to the property which deed of easement and right-of-way are attached hereto as Exhibit A.
You've heard reading by title on item 6D. What is your pleasure?
I move that item 6D pass reading by title.
Second.
On the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it, so moved.
6E, reading by title, file of the Council Number 31, 2018, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a permanent easement agreement and temporary construction easement between the City of Scranton and Lackawanna Heritage Valley Authority for real estate owned by the City of Scranton as more fully described in Exhibit A attached hereto.
You've heard reading by title on item 6E. What is your pleasure?
I move that item 6E pass reading by title.
Second.
On the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, so moved.
Seventh order, 7A, for consideration by the Committee on Rules for Adoption, Resolution Number 67, 2018, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a contract with Highland Associates to perform the City of Scranton Municipal Building Facilities Condition Assessment.
As temporary chairperson for the Committee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7A.
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Gahan?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes. I hereby declare item 7A legally and lawfully adopted.
7B, for consideration by the Committee on Rules for Adoption, Resolution Number 68, 2018, appointment of Robert J. Morris, 648 Whale Street, Scranton, Pennsylvania, 18508, as the alternate number 2 member of the Board of Zoning Appeals for the City of Scranton. Mr. Morris will fill the alternate number 2 position that was vacated by Robert Gattens when he became a regular member of the board by Resolution Number 56, 2016. Mr. Morris will fill the unexpired term of Mr. Gattens, which expires on July 1, 2020.
As temporary chair for the Committee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7B.
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Gahan?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes. I hereby declare item 7B legally and lawfully adopted.
7C, for consideration by the Committee on Public Works for Adoption, Resolution Number 69, 2018, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a grant application by the City of Scranton to the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development for a local share account grant, Gaming Funds, Monroe County, in the amount of $464,239 for a paving project in the Fawnwood Heights development in West Scranton.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Public Works?
As chairperson for the Committee on Public Works, I recommend final passage of item 7C.
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Gahan?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes. I hereby declare item 7C legally and lawfully adopted.
7D, for consideration by the Committee on Rules for Adoption, Resolution Number 70, 2018, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to execute and enter into a contract with KS Engineers PC for the City of Scranton Traffic Sign Management System.
As temporary chairperson for the Committee on Rules, I recommend final passage of item 7D.
Second.
On the question?
Yes, on the question. You know, we've now, the past few years, been discussing this quite a lot, and that is the fact that we all get requests from people throughout the city about a faded street sign or a faded stop sign. Mrs. Jeffries compiled the list herself and did a great job throughout the Hill section. But we recognized, and I give the administration a lot of credit, because they recognized that we needed to do something different. We have now one full-time person and one part-time employee in our sign department, where years ago I believe we had multiple people. It was a full staff. So they've been doing a great job at trying to keep up with all of the different requests that come in for faded street signs and stop signs and other signs throughout the city. So this is a necessary investment on behalf of this council and this administration in our DPW to give them better equipment, to make sure that they're efficient, and it's an investment in our city. I think of, you know, when I'm looking at this legislation, the broken windows theory. When there's one broken window on the block and one house that's blighted, that spreads. criminals start to come into your neighborhood. Same thing could be said, I think, of faded street signs and stop signs that are hanging over or on the ground. People in the neighborhoods notice that. So that's one thing. The second thing is from a public safety perspective. You know, as Mrs. Jeffries correctly pointed out multiple times here, if you're not from the city and you're trying to navigate, sometimes it's very difficult when you can't see a street sign. Even at night, it's difficult sometimes. I find myself stopping and almost getting into an accident trying to find out where I'm going. So I think that this legislation and this program is going to correct that. Basically, what this company will do is create a state-of-the-art inventory system for the DPW. So they will go around, if anyone has ever seen the vans that Google Earth employs throughout really the country. This company will send a van with GPS-enabled cameras. They will go throughout every mile of the city. We have 263 centerline miles of roadway, and they will take photographs, real-time photographs of every single street sign or lack thereof and stop sign in the city of Scranton. And then they'll come back, they will create a report that will go to the DPW, and we will have an actual inventory. They're going to provide training for our employees. They're going to provide a database for our employees so that in the future, when a sign, a street sign or a stop sign or any sign for that matter gets replaced, there will be a log of that. So this is going to make our DPW much more efficient, and it's going to give our employees the tools that they need to do their job, because they do an absolutely wonderful job with all the requests that come in. So as I just mentioned before when we spoke on the legislation about the police department, this is another example of the city using technology to be more efficient. If you look in the backup legislation at all of the cities that this company works with, one example is Camden, New Jersey. I think they have roughly 75 or 76,000 people, similar to the city of Scranton. This company has a great track record. Mr. Bolzoni, the business administrator, was in our caucus earlier, and he gave us a complete rundown of all of the different people that he spoke to about this, including PennDOT. So again, I want to commend my colleagues for their support for this. I want to commend Mrs. Jeffries and the public for putting up with this issue for quite a long time. I think that this legislation and this company will solve a problem that we've been facing for quite some time in the city. Thank you.
On the question, you know, many times when things fail in government, the cause is systemic. And I've talked about this many, many times. Not necessarily employee related. So what this is going to do, this Scranton traffic sign management system, is going to create and put in place a system that would allow our employees to be successful and allow street signs to be put up in a relatively quick fashion when they're reported, and keep that system in place and monitor it and know exactly what's going on. We don't right now. You get a phone call, they write it down on a piece of paper, they probably put it up on a bulletin board, but, you know, and they're woefully understaffed, as Councilman Gahn said. We have effectively 1.5 employees in charge of all of the signs in the city, so we need to do better. So the first thing we can do is put a system in place that will allow them to be successful. So I'm very happy to be moving this from 7th order to completion and finally get this process started.
Yeah, on the question, this was really going to take us into, you know, basically, even though we're 18 years late, into the new millennium, as far as how to take care of street signs and really anything in a city of this size. I compare this a lot to like the street light project we had a couple years ago, where we had a company come in and just give us a nice overhaul. It took a little bit of investment, but that investment's going to pay off over the long term. I believe this will too. Once we get this up and running, street signs will get replaced when it's time, almost instantaneously, because we'll know about it, we'll have it tracked, and we'll know the date they went in, how long they were there, and we'll get a nice flow to this, and it really will help the poor understaffed people in DPW to handle this. Roll call, please.
Mr. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Gahan?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes. I hereby declare item 7D legally and lawfully adopted.
7E for consideration by the Committee on Public Safety for Adoption, Resolution Number 71, 2018, authorizing the mayor and other appropriate city officials to apply for and execute a grant application by the City of Scranton Police Department to the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development for a local share account grant Gaming Funds, Monroe County, in the amount of $70,003 to be used for the K-9 unit for the purchase of a K-9 vehicle and a dual-purpose K-9.
What is the recommendation of the chairperson for the Committee on Public Safety?
As temporary chairperson for the Committee on Public Safety, I recommend final passage of item 7E.
Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Gahn?
Yes.
Mr. Perry?
Yes. I hereby declare item 7E legally and lawfully adopted. If there's no other further business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Meeting adjourned.